Hey everybody, welcome to another video. I know it's been a while, but today we're just going to be taking a look at this free model I'm publishing for anybody who also wants a volumetric lighting system for their game. I know there's a couple systems already out there, but uh, I'm sure there's probably a good one, but for the most part, the ones I found were heavily uh, negative for the performance of a game, like the ones that use meshes with uh, one side and a bunch of planes on top of each other. It was a little too performance heavy for me, so I decided to make my own system uh, using beams. So we'll start off with the showcase. This is it working in my game. You see some light shining through the window. There's a little banding, um, like you can see here. I'm sure turning up the resolution might help with that though. And yes, the system does have settings so you can customize it to your needs. But it looks fairly nice for the amount of performance we're getting. I'm getting like 300 FPS right now. And with the volumetric mesh system, I was getting like, I don't know, maybe like 120. So this is a lot easier on performance, needless to say. And I'm sure I could be getting more performance if I wasn't, I don't know, using stuff like this. The ground texture I made with a bump map, or a normal map, sorry. So yeah, we have light shining through the window. Looks fairly nice. It works in all directions, so you don't have to be looking at the sun. It's not like a sun ray. And the nice thing about this system is that it doesn't like bleed through. Like you don't have it shining at the top of the window coming through to here and passing through. That'll never happen. It'll get blocked. Like it gets blocked by your character too. Yeah, I'll have to show you outside. It works on any type of light, not just the sunlight. That might be a little hard to see. There we go. You could probably see that. Um, it's working on all these spotlights. Maybe it'll look better in the bathroom. Yeah. Those bright lights are not very bright, so I don't know. Maybe if you want it to be a little more obvious, you could turn up the brightness of the lights. You'll see it's working outside too. Um, it gives a pretty nice effect. Here's where it gets blocked by the character. Maybe it's more obvious from this side. Yeah, you can see that it gets a little darker here. All right, it gets a little darker there. Um, so yeah, overall, this is a pretty nice system with nice performance and nice visuals. Well, relatively nice visuals. It's a pretty cheap effect, but it gets the job done. So now I'll actually go into explaining how the script works in Studio. So you'll receive it like this. It'll be a model. And basically you're just going to want to open up these two models inside the model and place this into replicated storage and this into starter scripts. Pretty standard stuff. And let's take a look at the script. First, let's take a look at the mesh. Perfect. So basically, in the script, you have a couple settings like size, resolution. I'll show you them right here. You have base size, base resolution, which I have set to 100 and 100 by default. So for every one stud, there is one beam, and there's 100 beams in total because the size is 100. So basically what happens is the script, when it sets up the volumetric mesh, it divides the mesh by the resolution. So if it's 100 by 100, it'll be every one stud. Adds an attachment at the top of the mesh and the bottom of the mesh for that resolution until it reaches the end. So if the resolution is 3, it'll do 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, and then place a beam in between all those attachments. Okay, so got that out of the way. Transparency. This will just change the transparency of the beams. So if you have it set to 0.99 at 100 by 100, it'll look the same as it did on the showcase I was just showing you. But if you add more resolution, as there's going to be more beams, you're going to have to turn up the transparency. Otherwise, it will look more opaque because you're layering more and more beams on top of each other. So you'll have to adjust this based on the amount of resolution that you have and the size. X multiplier, you don't really need to touch that. It just makes the mesh go like this to cover the whole screen, basically. So that's that. Basically, this is the run service, render step. Every time there's a frame rendered on the client, it just sets the mesh to be at the position of the camera, but only in front of it. So there won't be any need this beams rendering behind the camera or anything like that. I don't know if that's actually necessary, but it's good practice. So, right, so this function, which is the one that basically enables it, just sets the size to be the size. You don't need to worry about that. That just moves it to be in front of the camera. Clears the mesh of children in case you already set it up, so it can reset it up, and then it just does what I was saying before, adding an attachment at top and bottom for the amount of resolution that there is. And this is basically, if you have 3 resolution on this 100 sized mesh, the one closest to the camera will be the base transparency, and then it'll lerp in between the base transparency and 1, so it's fully transparent to get to the end. So this one will be the thickest. As it gets further away from the camera, it'll be less thick, or less opaque. Yeah, something like that. More transparent, basically, by the time it reaches the end. So that can be a problem if there's an absurdly low amount. But I don't know. You probably shouldn't have that small of an amount of them anyways. It's pretty performant. But that is useful for when there's like 600 of them on a 100 sized mesh, because you're definitely, I don't even think you can set the transparency value to be high enough to look nice. So it's useful. But you can disable it if you want by just setting this to also be base transparency, because then the lerp won't do anything. So that's what that is. And then this takes a quality level, which should be a value between 0 and 1. Oh, here's one actually look like this. Sorry, one sec. Okay, yeah. This will take a quality level between 0 and 1, and if it's below 0.02, it'll disable the system. Otherwise, it'll multiply the size by the quality and the res by the quality to keep it consistent with the ratio you have set up here. But also, in case you want to have like graphic settings in your game, you can bind this function to a setting. Like I have it binded to an event. It's commented out in the published version of the script, you know, for good reason, because I'm sure you don't have that event. But if you have an event, you just change it to be, you just uncomment this and then change this to whatever your event is. So you can easily set it up to work with settings. Just pass a value of 0 and 1, between 0 and 1. And then, yeah, by default, it just sets it to full quality and enables it. But yeah, I hope this is useful to you. It's a pretty okay system in my opinion. But yeah, thanks for watching. Peace.